T minus 60 seconds. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5 Foot Viking podcast, where we get to drink a beer and learn something new. Once again, I'm just very blessed to be here. I'm very excited that you guys are all here to join and have some fun and ask some questions and learn how to be more effective communicators. And this is pretty cool. This is going to be a lot of fun. Just wanted to also remind everybody that you can go to the 5footviking.com, which will take you to all the different things 5 Foot Viking, like the Instagram page, the Twitter page, the YouTube page, the Facebook page, all the good stuff. And coming up soon, I will be having a storefront on there, which is going to be it's going to be kind of cool to I'm going to have some different merchandise up there so you guys can support the channel, which I'm excited about. That should be fun. So with that being said, also in the description above and below, there are some links to a couple different things. The beer of the week, there's a link to that. There's a link to some of the gear that I use here. I know some people ask a lot of questions about what kind of stuff and what kind of setup I have. So yeah, so you can check out a bunch of those things. And with that being said, I wanted to jump in and ask, I got a couple people already jumping in. Thank you guys so much for jumping in and your interaction and your comments. It's pretty awesome. Looking forward to the conversation tonight. But in order to do that, I wanted to introduce my guest. Now, my guest was my professor. My professor years ago, back when I first was in her class, I had a long beard just like this. And I think halfway through the class, I shaved it live on Facebook, and I didn't tell. I just came into class, and I don't think she recognized me. She's like, "Who's this dude sitting in the front?" Oh, it's that dude. It's the dude that used to have the beard. But but Professor Katie Bruns is from the moment that I got into her class, I just knew there was something special about her as a professor, and also the information that we were going to be learning. And as the class went on, it was one of those classes that you just feel that connection and you learn something new, and it was really, really powerful. And then after college, we became friends, and so we're friends now. We've gone out and outside and had lunch and just kind of catch up. And she's a pretty amazing person. So let me bring her in right now, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Professor Katie Bruns, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending your Tuesday with us. I appreciate your time.
Oh, this is my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Whit.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're super busy. You've got a lot going on in your life. You've got a huge family, a beautiful, awesome family. And now you're working so much now that we're kind of getting back into the swing of things. You're doing some in-person and some online stuff. So you're super busy and your time is valuable. But I know every now and then you got to back up, put you away from that table and have a beer. So what kind of beer are you drinking tonight?
All right. So don't judge me, but I'm a high noon kind of girl. So that's what I'm having tonight. I'm still in summer mode. So I'm living that summer life.
As we should be. Now, I took it a little bit because I got one of those variety packs not too long ago. So today I'm trying the St. Archer Tropical IPA, 7%.
Okay.
So 7% is going to get me there quick. Yeah, but So, I'll try to pace myself on these, but I brought two more just in case. So, let's jump into just a few of the comments. Some people here. My good friend Alberto, always a big supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Jessica Knight, always she'll message me. She's like, it's Tuesday. Can't wait to see you guys tonight. Looking forward to learning something new tonight. That's awesome. Carmen, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for chiming in and for being here. We already have a question. Does Professor Bruns work at a community college?
I do. I actually work at a lot of the community colleges in the area. I'm adjunct, so we'll get into that and what that means later. But I work at Golden West College and Santiago Canyon College primarily, but I'm also at OCC sometimes and Santa Ana College. So it's just a matter of who needs me.
Well, you're definitely in high demand, and also a fellow educator. This is Mr. Schlitt. Mr. Schlitt was my 6th grade drama teacher, and yes, big mentor. Also, very, very good friend and mentor growing up. So thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Good friend John, thank you, man. Things are good, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you. And this is kind of like the fun part at the very beginning. We get to have a couple beers. We get to just kind of relax into it and see some people jumping on, and that interaction is just always a blast. So, what I didn't do was let everybody know about the beer section, and I'm so excited for this video. You guys have to see it, so here you go.
Beer! You're allowed to drink beer?
Anybody got a cold beer?
Do it up again! Another!
Yeah! That is a beer.
Score.
So everybody, Skull at home. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. That is a good beer. And that is definitely going to get me there. So enough about you. Let's talk about me. So let's jump into our second section. Let's jump into backstage with the professor. I wanted to, I know you pretty well, and I wanted to make sure that all the viewers get a chance to know you a little bit better. So if you can walk us through a little bit of, where'd you grow up, family life, what got you motivated to be an educator, college, things like that. Where did you go to college, and how did you end up teaching?
Wow. So I've grown up, born and raised Orange County. In college, I went to Chapman for my undergrad, and, there was this one teacher, I was kind of like fangirled her really hard. She was amazing. She was just one of those professors that, and I'm still friends with her to this day. She's my mentor and friend. I would just take all of her classes, and it would be one of those things where I remember I was sitting in a gender communication class, and we were talking about all these things that I had always felt like, this doesn't seem fair in our world, or people treat females differently than they treat males. Things like this that I've never had a space to actually explore those feelings and talk about them. And I would always come up after class and talk to her and be like, this is crazy. And anyway, long story short, she was like, you should be a professor. And I laughed in her face because I was like, no. And she said, no, you really should. Well, I still didn't believe her. So I went to college undeclared. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I always thought I wanted to teach young kids. Well, I tried that. I did student teaching, and let me tell you, no.
Oh no. What grade did you have?
I don't even know. I think they were like 3rd grade or 5th grade, but they just didn't do their work. They'd like throw their stuff on the ground, and I'm like, just do it, and then we can go have fun. So college is like this sweet spot of, if you don't want to do it, that's on you.
Yeah.
So I've always loved school. I've always known I wanted to be a teacher, but not until that class and that professor who told me, you should do this, you would be great, did I realize like, okay, maybe I should. So funny story. I told my dad I wanted to switch to communication. I was a business major to take over the family business.
Okay.
And he was paying for college. So he said,
oh, no way.
He said, no, you need to do business so you could take over the family business.
What's the family business?
So my family, is now on our third generation of owning California Harley Davidson in Harbor City. So any Harley people out there, if you need a bike, I got the hookup. It's my husband.
You heard it right here on the 5 Foot Viking. If you need a Harley Davidson, you got to hit up my friend.
I could get you a good deal. Yeah, so he told me no. And being the person I am, I was like, well, I'm going to do this anyway. So I was a business major, but I minored in comm, and I took all of the prereqs I needed to take in order to get into grad school. So then I went to grad school, and I was like, psych, I'm still going to be a professor. And so then I went to Cal State Long Beach for my grad work. But
and you got to tell this story when you graduated. Wait, was this when you graduated from Cal State Long Beach? That
yes.
you had your first kid on graduation day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that true?
So me and my husband met in high school. We got married right after college. Like literally the July we graduated, we're like, let's do this. And then, I worked like a big girl job. I worked at a broker's office for a couple years.
A big girl job?
Big girl job. I only could handle it for a couple years. And then I was like, my soul is being crushed. I need to leave. You probably can imagine that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So went to grad school, but we were already married at that point. We wanted to have kids. So my second year of grad school, while I'm taking comps, while I'm not only doing grad school, but I'm also teaching. I'm a TA, I'm a GA. I was the marketing manager for our family business, and I was pregnant.
Oh,
and that
my
was
gosh.
planned, by the way. We were like, no, I can do it. It was bad.
Oh, you're a rock star. Yeah.
But I was pregnant all throughout, we planned it. So they were like, hey, then you'll give birth in the summer, and then I can go teach the next year. And it worked out great until I had the baby.
Oh, no.
I had the baby a little early. And literally on Monday at 6:00 at night, or it's like 6:45. So 7:00 at night, I had my first son, Tatum. I had him at 7:00, and then my graduation ceremony was Wednesday at 7 a.m. They make you stay 24 hours. So I was like, excuse me, nurse, when can I leave? Because I have a graduation. she literally said, honey, you're not going. And I look over at Drew. I was like, I'm going. And he's like, I know you are.
Well, you sent me a few. Let's take a look at this picture. Let me go to here. See if this works. Nope, that doesn't work. Oh, did I make that the logo? Oh, my bad. I guess I made that the logo instead. I thought I guess it works, but I'll bring that up in a little bit. But you said that now did Tatum come to graduation?
Yeah. So he came to graduation, and I remember my professors who, have seen me these past 2 years, they're looking at me, and my gown is really big. And so they're like, I can't tell. And I'm like, the baby's here. They're like, what are you doing here? Like, I earned this. I'm coming. So I showed up with a 2-day-old baby. It was not a good idea. I do not recommend. 0 out of 10. Do not do that. Do not do that.
Well, I brought this one up. Okay. So this is graduation day with the baby right there.
I'm so puffy.
That's so amazing. And was this like that night?
This is our office. This was our grad school office. Like, look how beautiful they made it for us. It's very decorated. So nice with those 5 Post-its.
Oh, that's so awesome.
At graduation, I had to go nurse him like in the middle of graduation. It was an adventure.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I love it. So he was part of the graduation. He was there for it.
I feel like he was there for half the time I was in grad school. He deserved that too. But I did think it was cool. I became a master and a mama within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. That's amazing. I love that story. And, so talking about being the professor, going into that career, once you got your degree and you're moving into that career, what does the career of a college professor kind of look like? I know we alluded just a little bit to like multiple schools, but why is it multiple schools instead of just being at one school?
Yeah. So a lot of professors are actually adjunct, which means that when you think of professors, you usually think of tenure track professors, and those positions are, like the golden ticket, because that means that you are there, you pretty much committed to the school for life, and they're committing to you for life. It's really hard to fire someone who is tenured, right? So, and that's to protect you being able to do research and create knowledge and all this stuff, and not being penalized for the type of research you create. But a lot of the teachers, a lot of the professors are actually adjunct, which is what I am, which is you are just kind of part-time, and you just go around to whatever schools need extra people to fill their classes. And if they have classes, you get classes. If they don't have classes, you don't get classes. So with the pandemic, it was really hard for adjunct. I got super lucky, but a lot of adjunct, their classes were just cut. Because if a tenure track person loses a class because it doesn't fill, they get to just take your class, because they have to have a certain amount of classes each semester. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, I love being adjunct because I have kids. I don't want to have to commit to committees and, doing all this outside work. I really just love being in the classroom. And so that's what I get to focus on. But I think now that my kids are in school, I'll probably start exploring that option soon.
Well, that was another follow-up question that I had, because when we were in class, you, if I'm not mistaken, you got pregnant with Emmy. Oh, yeah. Was it during that class or was it right after?
I can't even remember. I think it was
because I was in your class in spring of 2016.
2016. Okay, so I think it was right after.
Right after.
Oh wait, yeah. Because I got pregnant with her in like the summer of 2016.
Okay, yeah. So that was another question, because seeing the balance that you had. I remember a few times after class, because I'm that student that sits in the front, raises my hand, won't let the class continue until I get it, because I'm fucking paying for this. So I want to understand it. And I apologize, but I wanted to understand. And there were times that, after class, I remember we were both walking to the parking lot, and you're a speed walker. Like, you walk really fast, like really fast. And I'm a short dude with short legs. And I was like, I felt like I was a child, like you were pulling, like, come on, keep up with me. And like, I was trying to have a conversation with you, but you're like, I got to go. I got my kid. I got to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like it was like you were on a mission, or you had to get to another campus to teach another class and stuff. Oh, yeah. So like, now having two kids, and oh my God, your kids are so cute. Your whole family is like, it's like that picture perfect white picket fence, oh man, it melts my heart every time I see pictures. But having that balance of being the professor and being the mother, and being the new mother to Tatum, but then also having an existing amount of work as far as all your classes and stuff, and then having another child, and how is that balance, and how do you do that?
I do not know. It's a lot of like midday breakdowns that Drew's like, "Are you okay?" No, I don't know. As you probably saw with me and my teaching grad school, I'm if you're into Enneagrams, I'm Enneagram 3. I love being productive. I love doing things, and really teaching brought me and allowed me to still have a part of myself while I had my kids. So for me, it's like, how could I not do this? Because I am able to be a person. I'm able to let my kids see me go out and do something I love and I think that's important for them to see that too. So I love it. It is hard, like transitioning from the summer when I'm home all the time, and then I do feel it. I remember one time I was home all summer. This was when Tatum it was probably like I was going to your class. I was home all summer, and then I finally like got ready to go to school. I had to go do all these meetings our first week, and I had to get ready for class, and my hair was down. I looked all nice, and then I got home and I put my hair in my bun again, and Tatum looks at me. He goes, "You mama now." Like he only recognizes me in my mom attire, and he knows when I'm going to work and when I'm staying home based off what I look like.
Well, I know it was rough for you, because there were times that you left There was one time in particular, you left all of our grades and our tests like in the room. You bounced. You were gone. You left your glasses there. You left everything there, and I didn't know how to get a hold of you because being the good student that I was, I didn't look at anybody's grades.
Yeah, sure.
But I remember I felt like such a tool because I waited around because you said that Drew was going to come back and pick up your stuff. And I was just sitting there and like I was waiting like a good student with all your stuff and literally the moment that I wanted to be an asshole and I took your glasses and put them on and I was like, oh, look, I'm the teacher. Drew walks in. I'm like, God damn it. Like, sorry, bro. Didn't mean to, put on your wife's glasses.
He thought that was hilarious. He's like, he stayed and was keeping guard of the papers. Hey,
those are important.
I'm not going to say that I'm not. There is a level of that still always where I just forget. And it's one thing or another. Either it's something happening with class where I'm like, how did I drop that ball? Or it's something with the kids, like they were supposed to have dress up day. And I'm like,
all right.
I'm sorry. I forgot that it's Noah's Ark Day.
Oh, shit. Well, wrap yourself in a toga and we'll pretend.
Exactly. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm one of those people who like have it all together. I also like hate cooking and rarely cook meals for my family, so there's things like that. So my whole point is we all have balls to juggle and some of them drop.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
100%. And I think that kind of helps us jump into like the communication section that I was kind of curious about. I know we talked a little bit about, I was going to say like why communication, but I know we talked a little bit about that, how you were going through school and how that led you to what you're doing. But one of my questions is that because you're a communications professor and do you only teach interpersonal communications?
So I have broadened my horizons. I teach interpersonal, public speaking, intercultural, which is actually my favorite, that and interpersonal. And then I'm also teaching small group now. So I have a lot of classes under my belt and it's really fun teaching new material.
That's awesome. I took public speaking with, I can't remember her name, and she got pregnant in the middle of when I'm like, listen, like, that's weird. Any teacher who wants to get pregnant, just make sure I take your class. You're going to get pregnant. Like, not like that. Not like that. Come on. Everybody get your minds out of the gutter. But like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a lucky charm, but
I think so.
So she got pregnant. And her public speaking class was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm a performer by nature anyway, so being up on stage didn't really have a whole lot of effect as far as the jitters or anything. But only jitters I got was when I didn't have breakfast. But the one that I could not stand was the and we talked. I reached out to you about this was argumentation, and the professor that I had, she was just. We won't name any names, but she was a real bitter bitch. She was really, really angry at men. And I remember reaching out to you like for guidance, like, can you help me? Like, is like, am I doing this right? Like this, that was the one time when I thought I'm going to drop this and I'll graduate next year. I'll take it with something else or someone else. But that was a rough one, but your class was absolutely my favorite. And, so with you being this expert communicator, okay, do you just like win every argument in your house because you just know how to effectively like maneuver the conversation? Does that happen?
Do you want my answer? Or do you want my husband's answer?
That's awesome. I'm pretty sure that you can like, in an argument, like tag him with all the terminology. Well, you're doing this because of this. But like, I'm sure
hates that. I can't tell you how many times I will say something and mid-fight, he'll say, do not lecture me. I'm not one of your students. I've gotten better.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was really hard to not bring up certain things and be like, you are doing this. And so, but you know what's funny is my family, anytime there's like some sort of miscommunication, like not really with my husband, but with my parents or my siblings, there's some sort of miscommunication. They come back to me and they just say, for a communication professor, you sure didn't communicate that very clearly. So it actually comes back to bite me.
So it's like backhanded. Like it's like, listen, not going to tell you how to do your job.
Exactly. I mean, my favorite part about teaching is that I am reminded of how to be a better communicator every time I teach it. So I am not perfect, and nor is my communication. But every time I teach it to my students, I have to remind myself, "Ooh, you should probably do this more."
See, that's awesome. And that's, we'll get into that, but real quick, just a couple questions. Jessica, she has a question. Is public speaking the same as speech and debate forensics? Is that is the same or a similar class?
It is usually a different class, but public speaking is the basis of forensics. Forensics is usually you're on a team and you are learning how to win an argument, versus public speaking is more just like giving presentations. You'll sometimes still do debates, but forensics or argumentation or speech and debate is usually more about, how to form an argument and how to win an argument.
I should take that. Marlene wins every single one. Speaking of my gorgeous, incredible wife, she just commented right now. She says, "Of course she wins every argument. Why is this even a question?"
Thank you, Marlene. She knows.
Well, you know what? What I want to do is I want to bust out, because I want to talk a little bit about one thing that sunk in for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my textbook from Interpersonal Communications class. This is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only textbook that I actually saved and kept, because there's nuggets of gold in here. And I need to go back a little bit more and read it. But the one thing that really jumped out at me, and what I think that I hope that you can expand a little bit more on, is the topic of perception checking. Because when I actually grasped this concept, it slapped me in the face. Like, why am I not doing this more often? Because in our day-to-day lives, it seems like everything is so fast-paced now, especially with technology and social media and media, that when I explain something, most of the time I always ask, once I look at Marlene's face, I'm like, wait, what'd you hear me say? Because a lot of the times it's not, I say something and my interpretation of it is a certain thing, but she interprets it very different. So perception checking is what jumped out. So let me bring this up. I got this out of the book. It says perception checking is a tool to help us understand others accurately instead of assuming that our first interaction or interpretation is correct. Now, can you expand a little bit on what perception checking is and how we can utilize that in our daily life?
Yeah. So this is, again, one of the things which this is great, because I think I say in my class, if you learn nothing else in this class, I want you to learn this. So thank you, Whit, that you actually learned this. Perception checking is truly just you checking to make sure that what you just perceived to happen is what happened, is what they intend for you to, how they intend for you to interpret it. So perception checking, there's 3 parts to it. The first part is you're just describing what you see in a very non-judgmental way. So for example, say if you come home and your spouse is like angry cleaning. We all know what that is, right? Like when they're angry cleaning and they're like doing the dishes in an angry way, slamming okay. So you can simply describe and say, "Hey, I noticed that you are, you're cleaning you probably don't want to frame it as angry. I notice you're cleaning kind of aggressively."
Ooh, I like that one.
The second one, you're going to give 2 possible interpretations. This is important because we always want to assume the best. At least one of them, you can guess what you think is happening. And the other one, just like give them best case scenario. So show them that you're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. So you could say something like, "Is it because you're upset that I didn't do the dishes like I was supposed to? Or are you upset at something else and you're just getting your frustrations out?" Then the last part is just simply ask a follow-up question. hey, can you help me understand what's going on? Or, how can I help right now? Or, how are you feeling? What's going on? So that's perception checking. Instead of just barging in and being like, what did I do now? Why are you mad at me? And they're like, I'm not mad at you. I had a stressful day and I'm taking it out on the dishes. Right. So this helps us make sure that our options are aligned.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring up that specific, because Marlene also says Whit does the angry cleaning in this relationship, and that's 100% true. I think, I don't know if it's a mechanism, defense mechanism, or something that I probably got, because I think my dad does it as well, which he's not watching tonight because he's doing something, but he said he's going to watch it later because he really wants to learn how to communicate better. But I think I got it from him, is that when we get into an argument, my default is clean the house. So I don't know why, like, me and Marlene don't see eye to eye on something. It's not like we get into crazy arguments, but sometimes we do. We get into some heated debates, I guess. And sometimes and when I start cleaning stuff. I go and I clean the counter. I move stuff around. I'm cleaning stuff. And I really feel like she starts fucking arguments on purpose just so I'll clean the fucking kitchen or something like that, which is really fucking smart.
I don't blame her. That's a great tactic,
right? I mean, if the fact that I'm alluding to this habit of mine, I don't know. We're gonna have a clean house tomorrow, but I'm not gonna be still happy. But but I like what you were saying. Like, so imagine a situation where me and Marlene, I come home and she's doing the dishes aggressively, and I like that idea of the not just assuming that it's something that I did or something that's my fault, because most of the time it's not. Okay, most of the time it is, but at least what you're saying is perception checking is just making sure that we understand each other's intentions behind the situation. So, and like you're saying, so if I come in and see something, offer a question or offer two different scenarios of why she's being aggressive doing the dishes, but then the ball's in her court to say, oh yes, it is this, or no, it's not that at all. It's actually this. And if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of, just that situation right there alludes to much better communication.
Yeah. And think about while we often talk about interpersonal communication with our significant others, think about even with family members or even at work. If, someone keeps micromanaging you, looking over your shoulder, you can just simply say, hey, I noticed that you keep checking up on me. Is it because you're really worried about the deadline? Or is it because you're worried I'm not going to do it in the way that you want me to? Can you help me understand why you keep checking up on me?
So you can perception check everywhere
with anyone. And it just helps open up the conversation in a really non-aggressive way. Just like, hey, this is what I see is happening. Here's a couple different interpretations I have. Are any of these correct?
Am I accurate? Yeah.
Am I on base or not?
Am I reading you right?
Exactly.
Because it seems like you're a bitch right now. You just are. Okay. All right. I'm right.
At least we're clear on that, right?
Right? Oh, that's awesome. All right. Yeah. Well, I love the fact that that's one of the things that stuck with me. Now, here's a question. I know that you said that when, because you're a professor and you deal with this all the time, it helps remind you. How can we remind ourselves to do stuff like this? I mean, I think to me, that's probably the hardest part, is that I know that this is really good. I took in the information in the class and I know that it works because I've used it before and I know that it works. The problem is realizing when to do it in real time, Yeah.
That is the golden question.
No.
It is hard. It's even hard for me who I know these things, and it's still hard in the moment not to get caught up in an argument or just immediately feel attacked and get on the defensive.
Yeah.
So it's really just about being intentional. We call it in the communication world, it's called self-monitoring. Maybe you remember that. It's about knowing, being present in your communication and knowing what you're doing, thinking about it before you say it, figuring out, is this going to be the most effective and appropriate way to say this? Where is it going to go from here? Am I helping or am I hurting?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, just being mindful. It's so hard though, because we've, been conditioned.
Especially when you get into a position like, I mean, imagine in that same scenario, Marlene's aggressively doing the dishes and I come home from something where I had a rough day and I come in and I'm already heated. I totally understand how it's difficult to overlook that part, but being present, that's that, like you said, golden question. That's a tough one. But,
yeah. And also it takes two. So sometimes you could have perfect communication, like someone I know, and the other person does not. And that's really hard because in order to truly have a great conversation, both people need to be able to be willing to, right? Like if Drew came in and said this perception checking to me and I'm angry cleaning, I could still, and I still do sometimes, still just attack him, even though he's doing everything right, just because I'm frustrated at something else and he's the easiest person to take it out on. Not saying it's right, but it
just happens.
What we do.
It happens.
Yeah. We're human.
That's awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you guys are watching this, if you have any type of situation where you felt like perception checking might have helped, I'm kind of curious what you, what situation you were in, and throw it in the comments. Let me know where you're at, and let me know how perception checking could have helped you in that position. But from that, we're going to move on real quick to where am I at? Sorry, I have a itinerary here of questions that I want to ask you and stuff. So last thing about your about communications was, especially interpersonal, because that's the one that I remember the most. What's your I talked about perception checking because that was the part that jumped out at me the most, but what would you say is the most valued part of that curriculum, that people should know about? Yeah,
I mean, I would say perception checking truly is one of the top 5. Also, and this is kind of, we talk about it in terms of once you have a conflict, it's like, here are the steps for helping you manage a conflict. But my suggestion is to, instead of doing these steps after a conflict, do them before the conflict so you don't have a conflict. And how I phrase it is just like check in often. Basically and this is just like, there's nothing in the textbook that says this, but this is just like my golden nugget that I think is the most helpful thing is every so often with your significant other, with a friend or a family member, or even at your job, sit down. And while you're on a date or while you're in a meeting or you're having a quarterly review, sit down and ask, what do you need more of from me? Like, what can I do more for you? How do you need me to be there for you? What do you need me to pick up the slack on? How can I be better? And at first people get really freaked out and they're like, why? What is wrong with me? What did I do wrong? They think it's a trap.
What happened? Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Why do I feel uncomfortable?
So the first time I did this with Drew, I was like, we were married like a month and we were talking about like how
that would freak me out. I'd be like, excuse me?
Yeah, he expected me to like pull out this laundry list of like, well, let me start with number 1 first. But it really helped. Like he told me, hey, this is what I need you to do. Basically, he told me that I need to stop missing him when he's gone. It's really rude. And like, stop texting me that you love me when I'm with my friends. Like,
wait till later.
Wait till later. Do you think
it's okay?
But I get it. And the whole point was I needed to communicate to him, maybe you should plan things ahead of time so that I can hang out with my friends while you're with your friends and not just be home by myself.
I like that.
So doing that often, every time like we have a kid, we're like, okay, we need to regroup here. What do you need from me? What do we need to do? What's working, what's not working, etc. So doing that with a work coworker, your boss, like it is amazing. People kind of get freaked out, but then they really appreciate being able to have that constructive feedback that doesn't seem like you're going to get defensive or you're going to be upset that they're bringing it up. And it gives them a chance to say, hey, this is what's not working. And this is what we need to work on. And then in like a month, check up and say, are we doing better? Are things better now? So
that's actually a really good idea. That is a really, for married couples, for friendships, for business relationships, for literally anything, checking up with each other, checking in with each other is something that we overlook. And is that a big part of the curriculum?
It is a part of this conflict curriculum, but my tip is just do it before the conflict happens.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait for a conflict before you're like, well, I need you to do this and you're not helping with this. And and I'm so stressed. Like beforehand, say, I'm feeling really stressed. I feel like I'm about to break or we're about to explode because these are what we need to talk about. So that is one thing. And again, another thing that is just huge is cognitive restructuring, emotional reappraisal, which just means changing how you think.
Hold on, take a 20. What'd you just say?
Okay. we talked about this. No,
I know. I don't understand these terms. Come on.
So
slow this down, dumb it down. Like communication for dummies.
Okay. I'll do this one. So, when you're getting in a fight with someone or you're getting upset and you say, you're making me mad or you're making me so frustrated. So our thoughts are what create our feelings. It's actually not the events. So if someone does something to you, your emotions aren't connected to that activating event. It's actually connected to how you think about that activating event, right? Mm-hmm. So if someone, say for example, someone cuts you off on the freeway, you can either think, wow, what an asshole. This person thinks they own the road. And then how are you going to feel? You're going to feel frustrated, pissed, right? Self-righteous. But if someone cuts you off and you think, oh, they're probably in a hurry. Maybe they're going to the hospital. They seem to be having a really bad day. Maybe they're about to get fired if they're late one more time. Like, who knows? How are you going to feel? You'll feel more empathetic. You'll feel less personally attacked and more just, it is what it is. It's not going to bother me, right?
You know how difficult that is in LA traffic when someone cuts you off and you're like, no, it's okay. Fuck me. Go ahead. Like you can't.
Please do. No, I know. So the main thing is just like how you think about everything is what is connected to your emotions, how you feel. And like Drew actually taught me this. Don't tell him. But when we first had our kid, Tatum, and like you said, I was kind of a hot mess for a little bit because it's like a newborn baby. I'm like pumping in the car on the way to work. Everything's a mess.
Oh my God. Right? Wow.
And it would be 3:00 in the morning and this child did not sleep ever. And I'd be like, wake up, you need to take him. And he'd wake up and he'd say, I get to take him. I'm like, you're sick. That's a sick thing to say. It's 3 a.m. But he has this attitude of like, I get this time with him. Not I have to take him. I get cool. to. And it really, I always try to remember that because no matter what it is, like I'm doing dishes and I'm like, oof, I get to do the dishes because we got to eat tonight.
Oh, I like that.
It really changes how you view so much. Like I get to go to work because I get to have a job, right? So just knowing that you're in control of how you feel based off how you think about events and that people can't actually make you feel a certain way. So that's what I've gotten in trouble during fights when Drew's like, you're making me mad. I'm like, well, technically I can't make you feel anything.
No, I can't make, this is all on you. Oh, I'm sure that panned out amazing for the.
It didn't go well. Don't do that.
Well, okay. So last section that I want to talk about is lockdowns while teaching. We'll jump into lockdowns. Here we go.
Lockdown!
Lock down the base. Lock it down.
Lock it down. Lock it down.
Lockdown!
So the lock it down section. I don't know if you guys, and you know what? If you guys are watching, I actually put a lot of effort into these little 10-second like video intros, and I'm having so much fun with them. Please let me know in the comments if you guys like them or not. And if you don't like them, just don't write anything. That's fine. But I was having fun with it.
No,
But
I love
anyways, I'm curious because, from a musician standpoint, when we were in, at the beginning of the lockdown season because the country shut down March 17th of 2020, we were in the Caribbean March 15th, and we were on a cruise ship performing. And I was trying not to pay attention to social media because we're on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. I don't want to be on Facebook. I want to be in the Caribbean. And I knew that something was going on back home, and it is what it is. And we got back on the 15th. We were supposed to go back out, and they said, production manager was like, you guys need to get on a plane and go home. They're going to shut down the country. I was like, come on. And I get home. We flew home. We got home on that Sunday. Me and my wife, she's like, you know what? We're pretty stocked up at home. We should be good, but let's just stop off at a Target on the way home. We left LAX, and we were living in Huntington Beach at the time, and we got home in like 30 minutes. It was wide open. But we stopped off at a Target, and sure enough, there was no fucking toilet paper, and there was no and I'm like, I leave for 3 weeks and y'all can't fucking keep it together? What the shit? So, but bottom line is we came back, the country shut down. And when that happened, we thought it was going to be this, we thought it was going to be that. But moving forward out of that, especially in education, everything turned to being online. So I know that you were working a lot in different classrooms, and you had maybe 1 or 2 online classes. But how was your experience when everything just switched to 100% online? And I mean, was it an easy transition? Did you already kind of know how to do the Zoom thing and that, or was that difficult with family life too, trying to juggle being on Zoom, being on this, having the kids doing whatever? I mean, what was your experience with that?
Well, yeah, it was wild because I remember I didn't even get notice. Our school, Golden West, shut down before Disneyland, before the state shut down. It shut down, and it was just like, hey, we're no longer having classes. You're done. And I just didn't get to see the students ever again. So I had no time to prep. I had no time to tell them hey, this is what's going on. I was teaching at Santiago also. And I was able to prep them because they were kind of lagging. And I was like, by the way, we're probably going to be, and people thought I was crazy. One of those crazy people with the sign saying Jesus is coming. They
with
thought I was
oil on your head.
I'm like, it's happening. Thankfully, I had already gotten certified to teach online. I had already been teaching only interpersonal online.
You need a certification to teach online, completely separate from teaching in class?
Yes, at the school I was teaching at Santiago, you did need to be certified.
Wow.
Once Zoom happened, once the lockdown happened, now everyone's just like, go ahead, do it.
Oh, you don't know how to do it? You'll learn.
Yeah. But the Zoom was a whole new thing. I had only been teaching asynchronously, which means just go online, sign in, do the work, and no live interaction on Zoom. So it was still a tough transition, even with me knowing how to use computers and Canvas and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I feel bad for those. I have some colleagues who are older and they don't even use Canvas for grades or anything. They just do it. And a lot of people retired early. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. I went to, let's see. Yeah, I started a lot of my school with Golden West, everything was in person. And because I graduated 2018 and everything that I did, because I know my learning pattern, I learn so much better when it's visual and audio. That's why I sit in the front. I ask questions. I'm very interactive. And if I don't understand something, you're going to know.
You are truly the star student.
Thank
my
you.
Favorite type of student. And at the beginning you were saying oh, she's like, who's this? Of course I knew you were my favorite student that whole year.
No, I appreciate that. And I know I just like to, I'm not that kid that's, that parents are paying for college or, I'm a more seasoned student. I went back to college when I was 36 and I went back because I wanted to learn. I didn't need a degree to go get a job. That's not my motivation. My motivation is to get the knowledge behind it so I can apply it to my own business. So I was super excited to actually learn the material. So in all of my classes, I don't like to move on. They're like, okay, so we got it. Everybody's good. And I'm like, nope. See the hand? We ain't moving on yet. Sorry, class. But it was cool because when I would do that, there was a student next to me that would say, thank you for raising your hand because I didn't understand it either. And I was like, why didn't you raise your hand then? But I guess I got to be the brave one to jump up there and do that. But I was always the in person in class. And now that I'm at Arizona State University, it's all online. And I started during the pandemic and during the lockdowns because we all thought it was going to be 2 weeks to slow the curve, and it ended up being something a little bit more. So, which was interesting. But when I got into it, I decided, I've got a lot of free time, and let's learn something new. Let's jump into this. So, but being online is very, very different. And I'm sure it's very, very different for the professor as well, because doing everything on Canvas, I'm one of those students that's what did you call it? Where there's no Zoom?
Oh, asynchronous. It's just like submit your work and I'll grade it when I grade it. And there's no real live interaction.
Yes, that's exactly what I am. However, I still, my hand raised is in their inbox. I send emails like a motherfucker. Like I'm like, listen, sorry, I didn't turn in this last thing. I took a 0 on it because I didn't understand it. And it went over my head and blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna work harder next week. And they get a lot of the professors that actually care get back to me. Some of them don't, and that's okay. I understand, but I'm just trying to get by right now. But so for you moving into that whole online, and they just didn't give a fuck. And they were like, oh, you're certified, you're not, whatever. Oh. Let's go. But how did that affect the home life as well? Being a mother, being a wife, and having children. And how was that? Did you have to create a whole new section of your house for Zoom and stuff like that?
Well, it was a lot. I do think that is probably similar to what other working parents experienced during the lockdown. But I think I was even more lucky that I could grade at night when the kids were asleep. So Drew, he is an essential worker essentially because he works at California Harley-Davidson. It's transportation. So they only got shut down for a very short amount of time. So he would come home, he would work all day, come home. I would go work literally till midnight, whatever time I needed to do it. Then I'd wake up, I would homeschool the kids, do that whole thing. One funny thing, now the kids so this is my Zoom. It's my bedroom, which is a little awkward, I think, is probably for my students. But I'm like, I don't have anything else to do. I don't have anything other place with like doors.
It looks great. It looks great.
One time they busted through. My kids like doing this thing where they just quietly and secretly together get naked as fast as they can, put a blanket on, and then walk in and go, ta-da! And they walked through these doors like that while I was on live. And I'm like, what? Okay, so now I'm going, I'm going to be
That's
arrested.
awesome. You know what? I think that's probably one of the coolest, not coolest, but like it's probably one of the most unique. Think about this. There was a story that went viral of a Zoom kids thing, and somebody farted really loud, and everybody in the class was like cracking up. Even the professor was cracking up, and they were all laughing. And I'm like, that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, we can breathe. This is funny. Let's all take this in. That's fucking hilarious.
Well, now, so when I'm watching speeches online, people are they know, they come in, they go, is this live? Can they see me? They ask, can they see me? No, they can't see you. It's just a video. But I had to warn them tonight. I said, by the way, you cannot come say goodnight to me.
This is live.
You, okay? Don't get naked. Okay, this is live. It's on YouTube.
Yep.
We're professionals over here, people.
We are live on YouTube and Facebook, everybody. The 5 Foot Viking Podcast.
Woo!
Love it. And this is so awesome. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your experiences and sharing your knowledge with us. This is a blast. I know we talked a little bit about like the biggest challenges with personal life and going on to into online. Now, one thing that I because some people, like we talked about, or I mentioned that I know that I learn better when I'm in person. I just know that about me. If you can show it to me, and if I can see it and I can hear it, I learn so much better. If I'm just online and I got to do my own thing, I mean, I can muster my way through it, but it's not sinking in like there's different ways of learning, right? And what I'm going to ask is, do you feel that like the learning process is still effective with your students, or as effective with your students as it was online or as it was in person? And does that translate like by seeing their grades and stuff? Have you noticed anything with that?
I think that online is really beneficial for certain students, people who are working 9 to 5 and they have kids and they literally this is the only way they can access an education. And I love that we have this available for those type of people. But I personally especially my public speaking classes, I have students turn in videos and I'm like, first off, this is not public speaking. This is video conferencing, which is an important skill, but it's just not you speaking in front of people because you're just talking to the camera. So I definitely think that there is a lack, especially a communication class, interpersonal class, where you are supposed to learn how to communicate with other people, and yet you're just kind of behind a keyboard, and it's easier to talk online than in person. And that's the whole point of this class. Yeah. So I think that the classroom is so much more beneficial if you can, and you have the ability to be in the classroom. The discussions, the people you meet, the questions students bring up, it makes it so much more fulfilling for everyone, I think. So
yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I think Tammy is too, because Tam says, I wish Professor Bruns was my teacher. So
this is one of my friends from one of my longest friends ever. Hi, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy. Thank you so much for joining in on the 5 Foot Viking Podcast. And my beautiful wife chimes in too and says, yes, Tammy, she is awesome. She was my professor too. Oh. And I got to say that I talked your class up so much that I told Marlene she needed a communication. I'm like, you got to go. And I think she had signed up for another class, and we looked at, and I said, no, Katie's running it. Switch to her class. It's awesome, or something like that. So.
Oh yeah. I was like, you love wit? Sure. I'll love you. I'll love you. You'll be a great student. Marlene was so fun to have in class too. It was fun to have someone who I felt like was, a friend, someone who could talk to you and hang out before class, which is another thing I really miss about being in the classroom. Like, I don't get to meet people like you and Marlene who I become friends with, and I get to hear about your lives, or even get to hear about, where are you transferring to, or your relationship problems. Like, those were the best times in class. And, on Zoom, or even just like online, no one's writing in the discussion board about that type of stuff. So.
Yeah. And Mr. Schlitt, he says, I need to leave. Thank you very much. This was very instructive. And thank you so much, Mr. Schlitt, for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate your enthusiasm and your support. He's a great guy. Love that guy. And Marlene says, I was on the waiting list with a drunken professor. Great first day. Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. And then she says, so we asked if you could take me in. That's right. I remember that. I remember hitting you up and saying, hey, do you have room in your class? Because she went into this other class and the professor was hammered the first day. That That's pretty awesome.
As I open my second beer. But
Yeah, but this isn't, hey, we're here. The whole point of the 5 Foot Viking is to drink a beer first and then learn something new.
well, that's really funny because Marlene, I ended up like talking to my chair. I emailed her. I was like, so do you want to know about this? And she emails me back and was like, no, we cannot talk about other professors. And then she calls me and she's like, what's happening? I was like, okay, I see what we're doing here.
Yeah. Oh, you got to,
So, it's off the record.
Yeah. On the record, it's like, no, this is ridiculous. And then text me, give me the deals.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was a fun conversation. Thanks to Marlene, I got to kind of be a little spy.
Yeah, you were like little metiche. So, last question on the subject of the lockdowns while teaching. What does the future look like? I know we talked earlier that you got back into one classroom, and I mean, first of all, how did that go? And second of all, are we going to see more of that transitioning back into the classroom, and how difficult is that transition?
Yeah, so as a planner, I'm really this has taught me to just stop planning because it's just, you just never know. Yeah. I do have classes in the spring that are booked for in person, but they're already talking about making them online. There's talk about vaccine mandates for students. I'm pretty sure Golden West that is happening. I don't know about Santiago, but I just don't know. I do think that online learning is here to stay. I don't think in quite as big of a capacity. I've had a lot of students be like, I just can't do it. And even this past spring, their enrollment was at a crazy all-time low because people were over it. They're like, I'm not getting anything out of this. Yeah. So I hope in the spring we'll be able to see more students. I do think online learning is here to stay for those people who like that more. But, I hope we'll get back into the classroom soon.
Yeah. Well, especially for a communications class. When I mean, maybe you can look at it two ways. You can look at it the way that a communications class, especially interpersonal communications, you kind of really need to be there and instead of hiding behind your keyboard and people get brave. It's frustrating. I'm in, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to tell the story. So, I'm in a class right now, Communications 302. And it has to do with veterans. And I think it's so far, it's a pretty amazing class. I've met some pretty awesome people so far, and just looking at the discussions and interacting with some people. But there's this one dude that is 100% just, I don't know if he just doesn't care or if he thinks it's a joke because it's online, right? And anybody who's in school, there's a thing called Yellow Dig, which is kind of like a Facebook for your class, where you can go and you can put up articles and you can put up thoughts and you can put up your discussion, and then people can comment and they can put emojis like it or not. And there's this one dude in the class that is just extremely negative, like very, very negative. His first post was this. It was a giant middle finger to everybody else. It's called Yellow Dig, Boris. My good friend Boris. Thank you for hanging out, buddy. It's basically, like I said, it's like a Facebook for the classroom. But that's the. Do you use Yellow Dig at all?
I don't actually. I've never heard of that. So that's
really
interesting.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a link so you can check this out. Like this dude, you know what? I don't even know his real name because he put up a fake name because he's a pussy. But but anyways, long story short, he's just super negative, and like no matter what people comment, he puts like thumbs down, mean emoji. He comments talking shit that people don't know what they're talking about. Even the professor had to jump in and kind of write an email to everybody like, hey, we got to keep everything civil. He's really, really just stuck in his ways. And it almost got me to the point where I was like, I don't even want to go in there because I try to surround myself with positive people. I really try to do that. I try to surround myself with a circle of positive people. And I took a 0 last week on the Yellow Dig because I didn't even want to navigate to that page. I didn't even want to go on there because no matter what I write, this dude's going to come around, just thumbs down it. And I know I should have thicker skin, and I will this week, but it was like, it felt like emotionally draining just thinking about going on there,
Yeah.
Which
well,
is,
and I think that's so important because that is the culture of the class. And if this were a real life class, and if someone said something and a student would be like, that's dumb, every time I would shut that down. And just because it's online doesn't mean, like, you still have to have balance. Yes, you can express your opinion, but you need to do it in a respectful way.
And you need to back it up. You can't just say it's dumb. Like,
exactly.
Thumbs down. Fuck you. I'm going to put the middle finger emoji on his shit.
Please do.
Watch what happens. I'll let you know when I get expelled.
Let me know. You should just put random emojis to just confuse him, where he tries to decipher, like, what does this mean?
I'm going to put the kissing emoji, like
just freak him out.
Yeah. I'm going to put some freak out ones. I'll put this one, and then, I don't know. I'll put some good ones. I'll find. Yeah, right. I mean, it was just kind of weird, but like I said, I'll move past it. No big deal. But that like when we're talking about communication within being, now maybe this dude, now like we're talking about interpretation and we're talking about perception checking. I can't perception check with this guy because he's online. I can't.
Just tag him. Say, hey,
he's just doing
dude,
a thumbs down.
Are you saying thumbs down because you disagree, or because you just don't like anyone contributing,
or because you think it's hilarious just to mess with people's psyche?
Or are you just an ass?
I have friends of mine that they're like, watch this. I'm going to do a thumbs down. Watch. Like, it means nothing to them. They're behind a keyboard in another state, maybe. But like, should I take that personal? How should I interpret that? That's the weirdest part about the online forum, especially that type of forum. How do you interpret that without any, context?
Yeah.
That's what's really difficult, especially in a communications class. Now, I don't know if I'm really learning a whole lot. If this is a communications class, and how are you supposed to really learn with no context to everything?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you should hit him with some perception checking and say, why are you giving the thumbs down to everyone? You
know what?
Do it and get back to truly.
I'm gonna bust this out. I'm gonna bust out the textbook on your ass, bro.
This is a high level comm class. He should have taken interpersonal already. He should know this.
I am learning, and what's interesting is it's getting me because it's a veterans. It's I can't remember the actual name, but it's COM 302. It's basically all about veterans communication and how they're interpreted through media.
Interesting.
And it's really interesting because I have a lot of veteran friends, and good, amazing friends, brothers. And I've had great conversations with them. And so there's been times that something has been posted in the yellow dig, and I'll literally take that question and go to one of my buddies and say, this is what somebody said. What do you think about it?
Oh, that's good.
Because they have a very unique perspective, being that they've been deployed or they've been in the service for many years. So it's interesting to have conversations with my friends now when I'm learning in this class, which is pretty,
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool, but fuck yellow dig. So last thing that I wanted to talk about, I know we went over, I'm so sorry. We went over just by a few minutes, but I do want to ask you one last thing. If you can give all the viewers that are watching right now and everybody who's going to be listening, because this goes up on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And what's crazy is I went up and looked at anchor.fm. So if you go to anchor.fm and you look up the 5 Foot Viking, you'll find my page on there. And all of my stuff that's where all the podcasts are. And what's crazy is I can look and track who's listening and what's going on. I just realized I haven't looked at it in a little while. And I went up and there's people, I have I have people listening in France, in England, in Spain, in Mexico, in Japan, and in Canada.
That's
And
amazing.
it's so cool. It's mind-blowing. I just want to take a quick second and say thank you to anybody who's out there listening to this. I hope that you're getting something out of it. I hope you're having some fun with it, even if it just puts a smile on your face for a second. I did my job, and I appreciate you guys, listening in on this. This is pretty cool. So for anybody who's listening to this, if you could help give everybody, I know we talked about perception checking and being present, but besides those two, is there any tips that you would give us, all the viewers, that something that they can start doing tonight or tomorrow to just be more effective listeners, more effective communicators in, their personal relationships, their business relationships, something like that?
I think the easiest thing to do, not throwing out any lingo out there, just simply assume the best of people. I think that would be so life-changing. It could change the world. If instead of we assume the worst, oh, you're against lockdowns, that's because you just want grandparents to die. Or you want a lockdown?
Oh my God.
That's where people are at.
Yeah.
You're pro-lockdown. You don't care about small businesses.
Yeah.
It's like we can just assume the best. Oh, you're pro-lockdown. You probably have someone really important to you that is high risk, or you're anti-lockdown. Maybe you're a small business owner and you're afraid for the health of your business and your employees, right? Like, it will change how we interact with everyone. And it's really hard to do in this very divided time. But I think it is the best thing you can do that really changes how you interpret, how you perceive, and even how you communicate to other people.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here on the 5 Foot Viking. The best tip that you can to be a better communicator, a better listener, a better person really is assume the best in people. That's powerful. Wow. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Also.
Yeah. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Katie Bruns, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. I know that you got a lot in your life and your time is valuable, but I had a blast. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Whit, and cheers to you for having me.
Skål. Yes.
Skål.
All right, you guys, with that being said, I just want to say thank you to my guests. Thank you for everybody who has been chiming in and saying what's up. We got a few latecomers like my buddy Frank being the late guy. Skål, brother. Sorry I was late tonight. I'll have to watch it later. Seems like a great podcast. Must try on other shoes before I can walk in their path and understand their view. I like that. That's a great idea. So thank you guys, everybody, for chiming in, hanging out with the 5 Foot Viking podcast. We'll see you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll see you. I think this is how's that? I think this is how you end it.